Great day to get outside and enjoy it. This evening, clear skies means it'll get chilly, low 40s into the upper 30s for inland places. And tomorrow, temperatures will be a tad cooler.
Can you ask Sam to just do the green screen?
Clouds and a slight chance of an evening shower. I'm ABC News 4 Storm Tracker meteorologist Chris Nestman on 1250 WTMA, the Big Talker.
Just the green screen?
Just the green screen. Yep, perfect.
Green screen, okay.
Thank you. And cue flip prompter, Alex. Thank you. Special 2.
3, 2, 1. Sunshine abounds for your Friday. Temperatures right about average in the low 60s. This evening, clear skies means we'll
Right now on the National Weather Desk. Right now on the National Weather Desk, snow pummels the Northeast as a wild week of weather finally comes to a close.
Earlier this morning, we had some pretty low visibility.
Hear from the hero who helped save a skier trapped in an avalanche.
Some minutes felt like hours and some hours felt like minutes.
A tasty way to help better understand different types of precipitation.
I got some donuts to explain exactly what's falling from the sky.
Overcoming the challenges people with disabilities have in snow and ice.
Impacting our ability to push the button to cross the street.
Protecting your pet in winter weather.
We can see a lot of irritation on the paw pads.
And the story behind an iconic photo from North Dakota's blizzard of 1966.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Emily Gracie. The massive storm that unleashed tornadoes in the south and a blizzard in the plains is now bringing snow to the northeast. The National Weather Service posted winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories from Pennsylvania to Maine. By the time the storm moves out, up to 18 inches may have fallen across parts of the region. We have team coverage of the storm this morning, starting with Caitlin McCarthy near Syracuse, New York.
I'm currently in the Sedgwick neighborhood right now, and the snow's pretty consistent. It's heavy, wet snow. It's going to make it a little tough to shovel out your car this morning if you're traveling to school or work. But there's been a handful of delays and closures because if you look behind me, there's a lot of snow in the road right now. It doesn't look like there's been a lot of plows that have gone through this neighborhood and throughout other parts of Syracuse. So if you are driving and you do have to go to work, I would advise being cautious and careful to make sure you get there safely. Reporting in Syracuse, I'm Caitlin McCarthy.
Now, fortunately for those who are getting out the door and getting onto their morning commute today, the roads have cleared up quite a bit, and the visibility, that's probably the biggest thing that's changed over the last course of the last few hours. Much clearer visibility than we saw even at 6 and 5 o'clock this morning. It was pretty low. The roads, we had some slushy, icy, snowy nicks, so the road crews have been out here. We've seen them come through several times so far, cleaning up the roads. The other thing is it's pretty wet snow, so if you are going to have a snow day or you're working from home, it's a good day to go have a snowball fight or build a snowman. But just remember, it's pretty wet snow. Even though the temperature's not too bad out, you want to make sure you have a good pair of gloves or some nice boots on so you don't get too cold.
The snow will continue for much of the day and tonight, but should clear up for most places this weekend. The next big weather maker comes in late next week when Arctic air moves into the central and eastern U.S. Low temperatures in many places will drop below zero, just in time for Christmas. All right, the severe weather threat in the south is finally over, but not before an EF1 tornado touched down in St. Petersburg, Florida yesterday. The most severe damage was to a preschool after a tree fell on it. Thankfully, nobody was inside at the time. Several homes in the city were also damaged. And in South Georgia, this damage was left behind after a suspected tornado spun through the area. It uprooted a pecan tree and ripped a roof off a house and scattered some trees across the roadway. But a cotton gin in the city of Doe Run bore the brunt of the storm. Reporter Shade Ray explains what happens.
Equipment on the right side of the building was fine, but the plant and equipment on the left side was destroyed. 2 of his trucks that were recently fixed are now damaged again by the storm. Doe Run Police Chief Frank Pierce says that this is the only damage reported in the city limits. Doe Run City Manager Alyssa Blakely says they're lucky that the weather warning system went off in enough time to warn the residents.
The National Weather Service will be sending a crew to assess the damage in the area. Sadly, 3 people died in the storms in Louisiana. 21 tornadoes touched down over a period of 24 hours, devastating communities. The outbreak comes on the heels of tornadoes that struck the state back in March, not to mention Hurricane Ida last year. Survivors describe riding out the storm in basements and closets, and when they were finally able to emerge, many saw their neighborhoods blown away. Now let's move to the northern plains where folks are digging out after a massive snowfall. The sounds of snow blowers could be heard across the region, including here in Minneapolis. Neighbors helped each other dig out driveways and sidewalks. Plows cleared driveways as well. Calls for broken equipment also increased. Snow in parts of Minnesota is expected to continue through tonight. Meanwhile, in Wisconsin, folks are digging themselves out from 9 inches of snow. Even in a place that is used to winter, digging out is still a chore.
It's hard stuff to push, very heavy. You know, it don't move, and then there's slush underneath, you know, so it don't move. The first snow is always the worst, so once we get this one out of the way, then we get the lighter stuff, so.
The blizzard conditions also created very big waves on Lake Superior. According to the National Weather Service, east gales up to 45 knots created 21-foot waves. With diminished winds today, the waves should be just 1 to 3 feet. Our team of meteorologists are always looking for new and creative ways to help you better understand the weather. When freezing precipitation fell across Maryland yesterday, meteorologist Amy Aronson decided to use donuts in her lesson plan.
So first, this donut covered in coconut, that represents snow. In order to get snow, all precipitation starts as ice and snow up in the clouds. And what happens is it falls through a layer that's below freezing and stays snow as it reaches the surface. Not seeing that here this morning. This sprinkle donut, that would be sleet. That's the pellets, the stuff you can hear when it falls. In that situation, it falls through a layer in the atmosphere that's above freezing. It melts, but then a layer close to the surface that's back below freezing, and it has time to refreeze and reaches us as the pellets. But what I want to focus in on is this big croissant. It's glazed. You can kind of see it. See how it's shiny? That's what we're seeing out here this morning. In the case of freezing rain, like on this glazed croissant, it falls as below freezing precipitation to start, but then it falls to a big chunk in the atmosphere that's above freezing, so it melts. And as reaching the ground, once it reaches the ground, it just refreezes because the temperature is hovering right near freezing. And you can see that here on the sidewalk this morning. See how it's kind of shiny and kind of like that glazed croissant? It's slippery, so you got to shuffle as you step out the door. Maybe you're just stepping out to take the dog out this morning. You want to shuffle your feet if your sidewalk isn't salted to make sure you don't slip. So kind of all these pastries here explain what we could see falling from the sky and what we are seeing here this morning.
All right, as North Dakota digs out from this week's blizzard, many are thinking back to the blizzard of 1966, long considered one of the worst in state history. 2 men responsible for taking a now iconic photo from that storm recently spoke with reporter Krista Kidrowski.
There's a very good chance this photo will be displayed if you Google North Dakota winters. This iconic picture was taken by Ernie Phelan, who worked for the North Dakota Department of Transportation during the blizzard of '66, and shows coworker Bill Cook standing on a snowdrift next to a telegraph pole. Bill and Ernie were out taking photos like this of the winter storm's impact on North Dakota highways when they happened to drive by an enormous snowdrift. The aftermath of the blizzard of 1966 left those who lived through it with many other incredible photos. Strong winds created snowdrifts so tall and deep, even trains were stopped in their tracks.
There was a train stuck in there, and we've got pictures. We took pictures of that, too. The train came along, and I'm just assuming they didn't think it was that deep. They drove into that thing thinking they're going to go through it, but they didn't.
Both men say they had no idea they'd be making history when they snapped the classic photo.
Not at all, not at all. Even when I took the picture, I didn't know if it'd ever be used or shown, you know.
And there was no thought given about that was a unique picture or anything, but we made a picture for ourselves, and we forgot about it, you know.
A new report suggests whales may be able to help the world fight climate change. Here's the connection. Fighting climate change means taking carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, a process known as carbon sequestration. Trees already do that. Apparently, so do whales. They store large amounts of carbon in their bodies. Now, the author of the new paper suggests if we improve whale recovery efforts, we may also increase carbon sequestration. All right, coming up on the National Weather Desk, he's the off-duty firefighter who helped rescue a skier trapped in a Utah avalanche. We'll meet this real-life hero next. Plus, tips on how to keep your pets safe during the cold winter months. And as we go to break, we take a look at the skies over those Utah mountains.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. We have a storm moving through the Northeast today with some rain for some of you, snow for others here. Generally, rain is expected throughout southern New England, western Mass, and New York. You'll get more in the way of some snow. And Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine will get mostly snow out of this one as well. Now, the back edge of the snow and rain is moving out on Saturday. Sunday's a better day with a lot of sunshine. As far as snowfall and mounts go, there'll be spots in the Adirondacks, the Greens, the Whites, and the western mountains of Maine that get a foot of snow.
I'm meteorologist Jonathan Myers, and here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. Going to start above freezing for most along the 95 corridor during the morning, so that's good news. It's mainly just leftover wetness as any showers move away. Sunshine returns. High temperatures in the 40s, some 30s up in the mountains where, of course, they've had wintry precipitation in the past 36 hours. But overall, it's drier, breezy, a much better looking day for our Friday again as we see those temperatures rising into the near seasonable 40s. That's the scene here.
I'm meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast. So as far as the highs, a little bit cool up there around the Tennessee Valley, 47 in Nashville, 54 in Raleigh, stretching back towards Birmingham in the 50s. You get along the coastal regions in those 60s from Mobile, Pensacola to Jacksonville, 70s down in the southern tip of the state of Florida. Frontal boundary will continue to push through. That's the front that is going to continue to cool things down. A few pop-up showers, but most of the southeast is nice and quiet throughout much of the day. It looks like a Friday kickoff is going to be relatively quiet.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
All right, while we've been talking about snow in the northern plains and in the northeast, there's still winter weather in the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma. While only an inch or so of snow has fallen, road conditions are very hazardous. There have been multiple car accidents this morning, including a semi that crashed and is blocking a highway. Now, the temperatures in the teens and 20s, road conditions will likely stay slippery for a few hours. Wednesday turned scary for a skier who got caught in an avalanche. Luckily, a firefighter heard the cries for help. It also turned it into a long day for him. The firefighter remained with the skier for hours until the rescue. Lincoln Graves is in Salt Lake City with the hero story.
A happy moment at the end of a long, grueling day. This is when a skier injured in an avalanche in Neff's Canyon was finally brought to safety. Just minutes later, Tom Elbrecht came skiing down, ending his ordeal as well.
I knew the second I made that call, it was not going to be a 30-minute ordeal. It was not going to be an hour ordeal. It was going to be hours.
Tom is a firefighter with Unified Fire. On his day off, he went skiing with his dog in Neff's Canyon and soon heard yelling.
Continued up, heard a very distinct help from somewhere up on the hill, shouted back, got a response from the victim.
He reached the man, saw that he was badly hurt, and then called for help. That was just before 11 a.m. They were in a precarious spot, and rescuers didn't reach them until 4:30 in the afternoon.
The best way I can put it is that some minutes felt like hours and some hours felt like minutes.
Tom built a shelter for the man. He gave him extra clothing to stay warm. His dog, Wiley, also helped out.
I had my dog and I had him sandwiched between us and just tried to stay warm as a group together.
Multiple helicopter rescue attempts failed. Eventually, Salt Lake County Search and Rescue brought the man down. Tom skied down on his own into the waiting arms of his wife. It was her he originally called for help, and she relayed all information to rescuers.
I'm just happy that, she's as strong as she is, and she was there at the bottom for me waiting, and she's a trooper for sticking it out.
Rules about clearing snow from sidewalks vary across the country. One thing that is true in most places is that people with disabilities have a tough time navigating snow and ice-covered sidewalks. Emma Quinn looks at the issue in Albany, New York.
Walking over a pile of snow on the sidewalk, that could be a challenge for anybody. But for those with disabilities, that could mean getting their wheelchair or walker stuck. Some challenges present themselves year after year, like snow-covered sidewalks and bus stops. Just because the sidewalk has been cleared doesn't mean the crosswalk is accessible.
I mean, if you can't reach here, the snow is impacting our ability to push the button to cross the street.
Advocates at Disability Rights New York add an icy sidewalk impacts more people than those who have physical limitations.
Emergency signage isn't always incredibly accessible, and it might be difficult to read or see in different conditions. Whiteout conditions, blurry conditions can be difficult to see that signage.
Different municipalities have different snow clearing requirements, so advocates are calling on community members to be mindful and do their part this season.
It's not just people who struggle with the cold and holiday hazards, it's pets as well. Let's head to Asheville, North Carolina, where meteorologist Megan DeNahy has tips on how to keep pets safe during the winter months.
Our furry friends need us to help them avoid dangers that come with this time of year.
Any of the dogs that spend a good majority of their time outside, especially on those cold days and nights, giving them a warmer place to be in, even if it's in the garage or coming inside to stay warm, making sure that they have fresh water that's not out and frozen.
Pets have different temperature tolerances.
They make all sorts of fashionable winter attire for the pets now.
Our smaller, short-haired friends may need an extra layer.
If you've got your dog that likes to hang out inside in a warm, snuggly bed and maybe likes a blanket or something, then they're probably ones that would appreciate having a sweater.
Sweater or not for that walk outside, they all have 4 little paws. Your feet would get irritated, too, if you walked around barefoot in the snow, road salt, and ice melt.
We can see a lot of irritation on the paw pads that can cause them to kind of lick and have some redness and can cause some irritation there. Sometimes we'll even see with the salts or the ice or things some little cuts or scrapes on the paws. So being mindful of their paws. They make little booties if your dogs would tolerate them.
Snow or ice may get packed between their toes after a good snowball chase, too.
You can just kind of flip it over to the back and just kind of look between the little, hi big girl, paw pads back here, and even, hi sweetie, between the toes.
Antifreeze is sweet tasting and attractive to our pets, but it is toxic for their kidneys. You want to keep it well out of reach.
It's definitely a time of year that we will see an influx of patients with upset tummy issues. So the dogs and cats getting into the Christmas ham or the leftovers.
The holiday treats we love so much can make our fur friends very sick.
Keeping those goodies out and out of reach, especially for the counter surfers.
And finally, for our feline friends.
Yes, they love the tinsel, they love the ornaments, and those can be very harmful to them if they swallow and ingest.
Yeah, thank you very much for the kisses.
In just a few days, it will officially be winter, and much of the country has already seen snow this season. But overall, winters across the country are actually getting warmer. To help explain, we turn to meteorologist Matt Gunn in Kirksville, Missouri.
December 21st marks the start of winter. That means cold temperatures, snow, and ice may become pretty common over the next few months. But a report released by Climate Central suggests that winters are warming. Since 1970, the majority of the locations studied have seen an average temperature increase of 3.3 degrees. 80% of those cities studied have seen 7 more above normal days during the winter since 1970. Those findings are in line with my report I did earlier this year with shorter cold snaps occurring during the winter. Warming winters could have an impact in the heartland on energy use in homes, growing seasons for crops, the timing of winter storms, and how much local economies may profit off of certain winter recreational activities.
A brand new weather satellite launched into space this morning. SpaceX rocket carrying the satellite.
Liftoff of SWAT, our first global survey of
All right, the SpaceX launched the satellite from Vandenberg U.S. Space Force, based in California. The U.S. French satellite, known as SWAT, is designed to conduct the first global survey of Earth's surface water. Scientists hope the data will help improve weather and climate forecasts. And a Russian SOYUZ spacecraft, currently docked at the International Space Station, actually sprung a coolant leak on Wednesday. It prompted Russia's space agency to call off the spacewalk. NASA says it was a fairly significant leak that lasted for several hours, but NASA also says the astronauts on board were never in any danger. And there's other space news here this week. NASA released new images from the James Webb Telescope. The image shows a unique perspective of the universe, including never-before-seen galaxies that glitter like diamonds in the universe. The telescope zoomed in on a part of the sky called the North Ecliptic Pole. Now, if you'd like to see a closer look at these images, we've posted them on our Instagram account. Just search National Weather Desk. As we go to break, we fly over Maple Ski Ridge near Albany, New York.
Good Friday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. Got some snow showers across the northern plains today, and it's getting colder for us as we head into your Saturday. Still some pockets of lighter snow. I got some lake effect action, though, in western Michigan cranking up on Saturday, and a little quieter on Sunday, and still cold for us. High temperatures in the single digits in Bismarck on Sunday. Some high temperatures could be below zero as we head into the upcoming week and weekend.
Well, a good Friday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Chris Suchan. Look at our forecast today across the region, and really a pretty good looking Friday. Colder in the northern portions of Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas. Meantime, southern Texas, there you see 60s and 70s into Louisiana with some clouds. Might get a sprinkle of shower through the southern half of Texas towards the Gulf Coast Friday night into early on Saturday. Otherwise, the weekend, well, it's looking cool. Temperatures into 40s and 50s for most of the region.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson. Here's what's happening across the west. We've got very cold air that is plunging into all the way down to the southwest, with temperatures dropping 10 to 20 degrees below normal. Highs only in the upper 20s, and we're getting some snow in the mountains around Idaho towards Wyoming, tapering off and moving away. Much of us get a dry break through the day today. That's the scene from here.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
The snow finally stopped falling in Utah, but not before leaving scenes like this across the region. The Alta Ski Resort reports it received 60 inches from the storm. Ice-coated cars, trees, and more after freezing rain fell this morning in Pennsylvania, and freezing fog led to rime ice across Oregon's Willamette Valley. It makes for beautiful pictures, but also can cause slick spots on the roads.
For more content like this, follow the National Weather Desk on TikTok.
And this photographer in Montana seemed to be thinking about feeding birds with her feeder, just not wild turkeys. These birds a little hungry after all that snow with the winter storm dropped in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Now let's start in Oregon. The snapshot of an eagle perched here in a snow-covered tree. Let's take a look at some of the awesome content we saw from our viewers this week on Chime In. Today we're taking a peek at some of our wild feathered friends. Well, you just saw them. All right, we'd love to hear your weather content on the air. You can find us on all of your favorite social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search at NatWX Desk or the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. Well, thanks for joining us. I'm Emily Gracie. Next week on the National Weather Desk, we'll hear from NORAD to see how they track Santa on Christmas Eve, plus why winters are getting warmer. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you right back here on Monday morning.